On this episode, we talked about how to optimize social media content across channels and whether an in-house or outhouse model is best to do so.
With so many different platforms,
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter,
and their purposes evolving daily, navigating social media can be, well, complicated. Welcome to the Social Media Sucks podcast from Cupco.
Social media really sucks.
Where we unpack the latest trends and help remove the suck from social media.
Welcome back to the Social Media Sucks podcast, you guys. You're tuning in for dose of marketing and to get what's happening in the ever-changing social media landscape. So with me today is Taylor Ryan, CEO from Clint Marketing. And then, as always, our beloved CEO, Chris Carbonas.
I'm always here. So hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome, tuning in. And please tell us a little bit about yourself and Clint Marketing.
Sure. So my name is Taylor, as you've already stated. I'm a 6-time startup founder. I consider myself a startup junkie, growth hacker, mentor, short-time angel investor. And yeah, I like building cool shit. So it's a little bit about me.
Nice. What about Clint Marketing?
So Clint Marketing is a growth hacking and digital marketing agency. I hesitate sometimes using the phrase growth hacking because it either has weird negative connotations or people just don't know what it is. So sometimes you just kind of throw out the big picture of digital marketing. And yeah, we do full spectrum marketing, which I know these days not everybody's into. And it's like, you got to go niche. I like learning a lot of different things. So I get a chance to work on all kinds of industries, all kinds of problems, and yeah, hopefully make people really happy with the solutions I provide.
Nice.
That's awesome. Why do you think that growth hacking has like such a weird connotation to it?
It depends on who you ask. So like I've definitely gotten into these internet fights with, fucking losers and myself included. Like, why are you calling yourself a hacker? You're not a hacker. Or doesn't that sound like you're doing something nefarious or negative with whatever it is that you're marketing? And parts of it can be very nefarious or
Like the
gray
dark
hat.
arts of marketing.
Yeah, you know, like these days, getting access to data is really easy, and using that data to your advantage is quite a lot of fun and also has really interesting outcomes. Yeah. And not a lot of people are really used to that level of marketing or that level of kind of data enrichment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes
Data
sense.
is sensitive, right? Like it's a hot topic. Like it's a sensitive topic, actually.
It can be
with people's data and
yeah,
etc.
absolutely.
And why did you call your agency Clint Marketing?
So yeah, it's like multifold. So one is, I'm operating here in Denmark, and in many cases, and I'm just speaking out of my own experience, it's sometimes really challenging to get a recommendation or to get out in front of Danish clients because it's like, no, we've known each other since like fucking diapers. Right. Whereas if you are somebody that seems like you're kind of part of the tribe, it gets a lot easier.
Okay.
So Clint is the Danish word for a cliff. And in many cases, I've built up companies from zero here in Denmark. So of the last 4 companies that I was either the leader of marketing or the chief marketing officer, they've all had exits. So 1 IPO, 2 acquisitions, and 1 merger. Yeah. So the idea is building companies up to kind of the peak of a mountain that overlooks the ocean, and they can decide to continue to work with us or leap off into the great unknown and either fly away or who knows.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So that's where that comes from. I had no idea. I was like,
that,
for a couple of years, I mean, we've known each other for a little bit. Yeah. I was like, why did he call it Clint Marketing? Being a dude from North America, I was like,
totally.
But I get it. You have to have familiarity. I mean, I run into that problem all the time. I very stupidly called us Cubco, which everybody's like, what do you call that? And no Dane can say it. And so that was very, Cubco or other things that I won't mention here. But it's been difficult. So sometimes I kick myself.
I get it. But, there is no perfect alternative because you chose that path, and to wonder what if or like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. I don't know. There's so many different directions we all could have gone.
Yeah. Cool.
Of course.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. I mean, you're obviously both from agency side. So let's just talk about the benefits and challenges of in-house and outhouse marketing.
Like the benefits of challenging of in-house marketing or outhouse or both?
The challenges of both, actually. We can start with the challenges.
I got lost already.
Well, you can take apart each. Like, I mean, you can talk about the benefits of in-housing. You can talk about challenges and vice versa, right?
Okay, so I'll take the benefits of in-house marketing.
Yeah.
Like so clients. Okay, for those of you listening who doesn't know what we're talking about when we're talking about in-house versus outhouse, it's basically how much of your marketing is done in-house. So how many people you have running marketing? Are you doing it all? Content production, SEO, SEM, social media, all your marketing analytics. Are you doing that all in-house, or are you also operating with an outhouse model, which is using an agency like Clint Marketing or Cubco or whoever else in the market? And I guess the question really comes down to how much that is. I don't know. I've actually met brands that have it full in-house, and I've also met brands that have it full outhouse, and I've also met brands who have a mix. And I think the benefits of in-house, if I'm taking that, is that you retain all that knowledge about your brand and about the things that you're developing and the things that you're doing. You keep that all in-house. You don't sort of farm that out to an agency who is learning on the job about your brand and learning about the different things. So there is a huge benefit to that. The other thing is it's very cost effective. Like, it's way more cost effective to run in-house than it is outhouse. And when I say cost effective, I don't mean results wise. I'm just talking about the bare, how much it costs on paper to run my marketing versus using a outhouse or like a blended model of in-house and outhouse. So I would say those are two of the major benefits.
Yeah. Of keeping your marketing in-house.
Totally in-house. Yes.
What do you think about the challenges then?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different conversations that I'm sure we both get into with either potential clients or old clients on a regular basis about some of the advantages of using an agency. I mean, that's what we're selling, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've always found is a lot of people try to reinvent or they try to build from scratch. And so, like, if let's say you're building a new website, there are so many great frameworks out there and templates that you should never have to kind of thumb in the air or finger in the air, say like, ooh, what section should go first? And what other section should I build out? And what is the kind of rule of thumb in terms of the spacing and all these little things where it's like, bruh, you already have templates that you don't need to reinvent from. Right. I've found personally that a lot of people think they know marketing because marketing on its face value seems really easy. It's like, I've seen a fucking ton of commercials. Like, I could do marketing. But then when you actually get into the granular parts of it, it's holy smokes, it's so difficult. And you're spinning so many different plates. So in many cases, people are afraid to relinquish any control inside of their company because it's like, no, I want to own it all. And if I give somebody, let's say social media, outside of my organization, a chance to run it, that means that I have to concede that I don't know everything. And I'm not the biggest marketing genius in the world. And some people have that ego where it's like, I can't admit that that isn't my strong suit. And I've come across that on a very regular basis where people are afraid to let go of not only the control, but to admit like, hey, I'm not certain of how to do this.
That's so funny. I don't run into that very much.
Really?
Yeah. Like I think that obviously I run into very smart people who know what they're doing. Usually it's very rare that I run into a marketing manager that I'm like, wow, how did you luck into this? Yeah. It's very rare. I have met those that I was like, okay, this is somehow you got into this, but you shouldn't be in this. I have met those. But I mean, I get what your point is that there are some people that are very much like, no, we know our brand so well. But I think that's also why you want to choose an agency, because you want to choose an agency because they don't know you. Sure. Because you offer, a different perspective on how things could be. And I think every brand needs that shakeup every once in a while. Like even Red Bull, who does a ton of their own marketing in-house, like they will need a shakeup. Eventually they will stagnate on what they are and who they've been and what they've done. And they do great content. Like, don't get me wrong, like Red Bull's the gold standard when it comes to marketing. There'll come a time where they go, we were too deep in ourselves. We lost, we need an outside perspective. We need somebody who can come in and say, maybe Red Bull could be this, and give them a vision towards a future.
And as you guys say, like, it's complicated. Marketing can be very complicated in detail, right? So if you outsource your marketing to an agency of sorts, you can have this more high level approach, and then we go into the nitty gritty kind of, because social is ever changing. There's always something happening in the SEO fronts, right? So that's our job, to always be updated, and maybe they don't have the resources in-house to actually do that. And be on top of things.
You see the model now. A lot of brands will create their own like in-house agencies, and you see this a lot. And I always like face palm a bit. like Danske Bank is doing that now, and there's others. Obviously, Arla did it a number of years ago with the barn, is what they call it, and I guess what I've seen happen is like it's this constant dance of in-house, outhouse, right? Where it's like, oh, we'll do 5 years of in-house, and we think it's going all great, and then they realize that, holy shit, we're lacking creativity, we're lacking efficiencies because we're and we're lacking sort of somebody we can whip. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like agencies, I mean, we are we're often, getting pushed around by clients in a good way. Don't get me wrong, clients out there watching, but we're getting, we're the ones that can be, we're a supplier, we're a partner. So they can be like, hey guys, come on. Yeah. And we'll throw the young talent at it and they'll work hard and we'll produce amazing results that maybe they can't get internally.
But I also think that's why it's interesting to pull in an agency, is because it's like, hey, I'm not fucking drinking your Kool-Aid. Like, I'll take your check and I'll do an amazing job for it, but I don't subscribe to the permissions for the sake of permissions, the innovation theater stuff. Like, you can keep that right within the company. I'm not interested, and I'm not building that. Right. And I think that's one of the reasons that sometimes, they get into this. You always see this bundling and unbundling of a lot of different industries. And what you're describing is basically that bundling. Well, we can do it all ourselves. And that's where things gum up, because there's bureaucracy, there's permissions,
there's politics,
like all these things. And it never works, at least in the long run. Yeah.
Efficiencies go down because you get these political discussions that you can't like hang an agency out to dry on. It's like, well, they told us this was the right strategy, and it's like, it's like the rebrand of Facebook into Meta. Like if that goes,
how do you feel about that? I'm curious, as another guy that's in that space.
Yeah, that might be another discussion. We had a discussion yesterday.
No, damn it,
about Meta. I don't remember what I said because I can flip flop on that, but I think I took the stance of that. I think it's a.
It's a shell. I think you thought.
Yeah, I think it's a paint job.
It's
interesting. I think it's a paint job, but I do think, going back to sort of what was I talking about? You threw me off, Taylor.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw a left turn
within
into this,
within companies. You can't push back. On an agency if there's something.
Yeah, like a rebrand, like to Meta. Like Facebook can't then like go back to Facebook and be like, hey, we screwed up.
Yeah.
Like the Gap. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, they did like a rebrand.
MS Paint looking logo.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, we screwed up. Our agency's dumb, and we'll go back to the old logo, right? So they can hang us out to dry in some ways, and that's fine. Like that's the relationship, and I understand that. I'm not complaining about it. It's just the way it is. But I think that's also a nice thing in the bureaucracy sort of camp, that you can just be like, it's their fault. They did this, not us.
Good point. Yeah. Really good point.
Yeah. But on the Facebook Meta side, I'd like to know your opinion. Like what do you think is it good? Is it bad?
From the standpoint of rebranding, I mean, I don't understand the allure of dropping a name that is so synonymous with a digital experience already. I think you could have carried on with Facebook and Meta as two separate entities, but they're trying to obviously reinvent, and they're trying to hit a space that nobody's capitalized on. Like VR's been around since like the fucking 70s. Like
it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And it never really takes off.
No. And I'm sure, the technology's gotten better, but I still don't see, I don't know. I'm very bearish on the whole idea of that taking off to the point that people are going to be spending more hours with a headset on, not engaged with people in the real world. And I don't know. I think the whole concept of the hardware paired with what I can see as far as like floating torsos and engaging, it's like, I don't know. Like, what
would you want that? Yeah, that's the point. Like the user experience has to be so much better. I mean, that's why VR video games are popular, is because, well, not popular. I would say they're mildly popular. It's not like my son's not going out and playing VR games, but they're more engaged with Fortnite or whatever else, or Roblox, which is like low tech, or Minecraft, which is super low tech. So you kind of you look at the marketplace and you go, well, is VR really, like, is it that hot that people want to spend their time in it? And I don't think it's there yet. The experience isn't better than, or real even life. Close to real life. So it has to get to that place where it's like, oh, this is better than,
or supplement at least.
Yeah. I mean, at least Facebook and social networking in some ways was better than other forms of communication at the time. So that's why it progressed.
Yeah.
But VR is not better forms of interacting with the world.
I agree.
So is it actually going to take off? And that's the problem. But I think it is a rebrand, and I think like I don't know if you have any problems with Facebook, but I certainly do. We certainly do.
From the standpoint of everything becoming more expensive.
Well, and also the standpoint of just the ad, like the service level on ads, like too. Calling a bit, like you can't get anybody on the phone to do any sort of ad situation ever. Even if you spend millions of dollars with them, you can't. Like, there's nobody you can talk to and be like, hey, can you sort this out for me? There is, but they take months or weeks to fix it for you.
Yeah,
so it's course. Like it's horrible. It's a horrible situation.
There's little niche marketplaces that keep popping up because of the shortcomings of platforms like that. So I can buy an aged Facebook account that had previously at least established some type of ad campaign. It's not going to be cheap, but the idea is I can get back in if I get banned from running ads on my own account. And that is one of the most frustrating things in the world, where it's like, I'm in the space of crypto right now with a number of clients, and you really have to play by so many like just esoteric and unclear rules in terms of what you can talk about. You can talk about crypto events. You just can't talk about the currency that might be shilled at the event. It's just like, it boggles the mind.
That's interesting. Yeah. Right. That's because they feel like it's still a cowboy industry?
I guess. I don't know. I've never talked to Zuckerberg personally, but I would love to figure out.
He's got to have some crypto. Come on.
Well, I can't imagine he wouldn't. I mean, the dude's got a ridiculous amount of money. He's
probably got $1 billion in Bitcoin, right?
I mean, who doesn't these days that's on that level, right?
Do you have any Bitcoin?
No, I don't.
No?
No.
I'm thinking about NFTs.
Or do you?
I have a couple NFTs. Right? I have a few NFTs, but
I could see you in that space.
Nothing exciting. Nothing that I'm like, I could retire next year. No.
Yeah. You have Cupco for that, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's really going to help me with my retirement. You haven't seen our profit margins.
Interesting.
So, okay, getting back on track.
Yeah, getting back on track. But interesting discussions, though. Of course, you two would go into that space. It doesn't surprise me at all. But, I mean, going back to this agency work, I mean, why do you think there's obviously a lot of benefits and also challenges with outsourcing your marketing department? But if you were to, as a brand, build your marketing department, what do you think it should be shaped like? I know that Chris mentioned once upon a time that it should almost, I think you agreed actually with, might agree, that it should almost be built like an agency.
Yeah, maybe. But I actually think that now that you're on the podcast, I'm like, I kind of would like to have a growth hacker. Actually, I almost tried to hire you once, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like...
We were neck and neck on a contract.
I really want to hire you, man, because I think that actually you bring a certain set of skills that... a particular set of skills.
Liam Neeson style.
Do you freelance?
Right? I think that there's and you put it very nicely about the data side, like using the data in a particular way that increases growth or growth opportunities. And I think that's, it is the bit of the dark side of the dark arts of marketing. And it's not so dark that it's like you're breaking the laws or you're doing anything that's unethical, but it is a place where most marketers won't go because it's a little...
It's a gray zone.
Yeah, it's a gray zone, and it's a little like, same with, hacking social in some ways, like hacking the algorithms. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do that will expose your content to more people. It will, it'll increase your marketing efforts.
Sure.
And most people won't play in those areas simply because, A, they don't know what they're doing, and it takes years of sort of plugging and playing and a lot of experimentation to actually find out what is bullshit and what actually is a growth hack. That's, I think, the biggest part of it is just experimenting, like, I'm going to use, some Phantom Buster over here or this, and that's like, maybe that's working, maybe it's not, or I'm going to use this tool, maybe that's working, maybe I'm going to do a little bit of JavaScript injection here or this. Like, there's a lot of things that you have to experiment with to find out what's crap and what's good. So I think like a growth hacker would be awesome to have on the team. I think that a content creator who really knows video is key. And I think also graphic design or art direction, like someone who's got both not just graphic design skills, but also skills in a vision of how should things look and feel, and like be also maybe a little bit of UX in there that can understand like, okay, when we're doing forms or we're doing sort of web landing pages, what sort of works, what doesn't. a kick-ass copywriter that understands persuasive content. Somebody that knows how to sell, and then maybe a copywriter that's really good at SEO and just knows how to like pump out a lot of great blog content that can, drive traffic. A social media coordinator. Jump in here anytime. Who else would you add?
I would like where you were going.
Yeah.
Totally.
Ooze out. I need an ooze out.
You need a project manager, of course.
I need a project manager
Yeah.
that would run the whole shit and actually keep everybody in line and say, like, here's your deadline. Go and do it. I need that. What else do I need? I need someone to bring me coffee.
There you go.
Assistant.
There we go. I need an assistant.
Office
Somebody to make you laugh. Somebody to make you cry.
I need a hara. I need a hara
Yeah.
as a marketing manager running the whole stuff, having the vision.
The ghostwriter. Yeah.
It's amazing. You see that? You see the shirt that she's wearing today? She wore it specifically for you.
Hey, I like that.
Nice.
Okay.
You need that as a growth hack.
Yeah.
Growing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that is basically a small agency you're kind of describing, right? Like it's you have to
what am I
have those
missing?
key persons.
Well, I can tell you what I've built in the past. So like
Paid media specialist.
Yeah, paid media specialist.
There you
that's what
go.
we need, yeah.
I mean, up until the last 2.5 years, I've been building basically individual teams that would have been easily flipped into an agency. That's why, in my opinion, it was really easy to walk into the agency world because I took that process-driven approach and the organization that I needed to have within my own companies, as well as being a chief marketing officer of some of these other companies. I mean, the biggest team that I had was 30, and I found that there was no way to do it unless you really had structure. And so when I recommend now for people building teams, you start with some form of leadership or project manager at the very top. Somebody has to know their shit. Like if everybody's just kind of like guessing, it's a disaster. Below that, I have a UI UX designer. I think user experience is so important, especially with digital marketing in general, but growth hacking, like super important when you're building things. Beyond that, front end, back end developer, a full stack kind of dude, like or girl. So hard to find, dudette, whatever. So hard to find, but every once in a while you'll find somebody that actually gets it, and they're not impossible to program. Yeah.
Because they understand both design and also
Yes.
back end.
But
It's
it's
really hard.
I think for me, it's getting them to understand the why behind the why, where it's like, go get me a beer out of the fridge, and they'll walk up to the fridge, stop and turn around. They'll be like, you didn't tell me to open the door. And it's like, fuck. Okay. Go up to the fridge, open the door, pull out a beer. And by the time you give all those directions, it's like, dude, it's 8:00. I got to go home.
So they have to understand the user experience.
I think user experience, but the why behind the why of
why,
we're doing this tactic because it gets us this
beer.
amount of data. A beer, in which case gets me drunk, which puts me in a good mood. You gotta
then gets you a raise.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I would definitely say a content writer and copywriter, somebody that's flexible on both sides.
Yeah.
Somebody that understands SEO from the standpoint of growing organically across all pages. And then, as you said, like the paid media specialist, it's not that hard to get into it, but it's one of the hardest careers to start because nobody wants to give money to somebody with no experience.
Right.
Like, have you ever run campaigns before? And it's no, but I imagine it would be interesting. And I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and it's like, I'm not giving you thousands to play with just to learn on my dime.
Right. You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah. So I think it's that spectrum.
Tried a lot of stuff. And
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned something that I think is interesting. It's not on the table here to talk about, but I think it's one of the things that I think I admire most about you and that you've done really well is on the SEO sort of content growth side. What do you think is working extremely well in that at the moment? In terms of not necessarily social content, but like on page content.
Yeah.
What do you see right now is happening in that industry that's working?
Yeah. So like Google put out its core web vitals at the beginning of this year. Like they were announcing it last year that they were rolling these out. And I've always been super into SEO because it's something that you can make a difference and you can see it in real life and you can track it.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is a numbers game. And like there's intent and like all these other things, but like it is data. And so, when they rolled out core web vitals, one of the first things that I saw was speed. And they're all about this CLS and boy, it's been a long day, but there's two other major fields that they're basically measuring. And the layout shift is one of those things that I didn't take seriously. So when you load a website and like you see like the boxes kind of go whoop, 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 here we are. When that happens, Google was penalizing websites to no end. So I fixed that on my own site back in September. I've doubled the amount of keywords that I've gotten within 2 months.
Really?
And it was that little change,
little shift.
of fixing the layout shift problem. And, it always comes down to like caching, lazy loading, and a little bit of speed optimization via either image compression or CDN.
Yeah. Okay.
So those things in terms of just focusing purely on site speed, like, dude, it makes all the difference right now.
Yeah.
Like,
but would you ever go to an AMP? Like, would you ever do like Google AMP? Like,
so AMP pages were all the rage like 10 years ago.
Yeah, no,
and I do see like shopping experiences. So like Google grades different websites differently. So if you are an e-commerce website, you are graded more harshly because people are actually shopping more on their phones.
Right.
So the understanding is if you can't get it right, you're screwed.
Yeah, your mobile page has to be rocking,
on point and super fast,
especially on the e-commerce side.
Yeah,
we see that actually with a few customers.
Really?
We're dealing with one. Yeah, we don't really touch e-commerce.
Oh, dude, send them my way.
Yeah, well, I will.
Don't
I will,
threaten me with a
honestly.
good
They don't
time.
ever ask me. They're always like, we drive traffic with social and paid ads, but we don't like deal with the on-page stuff. But I think one of the things that I've seen scores-wise from some customers on their e-commerce mobile has been abysmal, just like really bad, like so bad that you're like, how are you even making money? Like Google must just not rank you at all for anything. So I hear you. The mobile page experience and the speed is quite important. Yeah.
What do you think is relevant for measuring KPIs
Across what? On social
on
or
social,
on social? Okay.
When you create this engaging social media content, like what do you, from your different perspective, I think you have different approaches of KPIs actually.
Well, I'm always looking at reach and engagement. I mean, those are the two key ones. People would argue, okay, like Instagram has, you got to get a lot of saves, or you got to like that's nice. And Harwood also on our team would be like, I love the saves, and that's good. It's a precursor, or it's a KPI about things doing things well. But I think more importantly, it's like, because reach and engagement are tied together. If you get good engagement, you're going to get good reach, because the algorithm's going to say, okay, this is good content. It's keeping people on our site, which is the key thing. Like, you got to remember, as a social media content producer or a social media publisher, if you're producing and publishing stuff on social media, they want people to stay on the site. So give them reason to, and the social media algorithm gods will reward you with extra reach and extra, impressions. So it's those two really, and engagement can be saves, but it can be comments, it could be DMs, it could be shares, it could be things like that. So yeah.
What about your perspective from your end of the table?
Yeah, you guys have different clients than a lot of us. I almost exclusively nowadays I'm playing in a lot of B2B spaces, and in many cases it can be smaller companies. We've joined together on different contracts for larger organizations, but it really just depends. But most of the time when I'm sitting with people, it is ROAS, so return on ad spend, and conversions. Yeah. And that is something that when somebody is not sure if they're going to be able to keep the lights on for the next 3 months, they're like, really, I need you to double my money. Yeah. And how fast can you do that? And it's like, well, okay, like, let's take a look.
The pressure's much different.
Yeah, very much so.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're dealing with top of the funnel mostly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously we also do a lot of paid media, but organic social hasn't really been traditionally great for, conversion.
Nothing.
Right? Other than maybe, and you wouldn't even put influencer marketing top of the funnel. You'd really put it at bottom of the funnel. Usually if it's like, buy this now with this 20% discount, unless it's like, an influencer post where they're just wearing your shit. But I think you're right. And I think it's a different pressure. And I think it's a really nice place to work in, because you can show the money. You can show it like, here, it's 4 times ROAS, or 10 times, or 20 times, whatever it is. Yeah. And if you can do a campaign that's giving you that, usually clients are going to be like, sign me up. where can I get more of this, right?
Sure.
So have you ever found that there's like a limit? Like I often tell clients that it's a funnel and you have to fill the funnel. So you might have really good ROAS now, but we got to look also 3 months ahead, 10 months ahead, whatever it is.
I see where you're going.
Yeah. Like, do you ever acknowledge that or like talk to clients about that at all?
Yeah. So like I hit that wall back in the days I was at a construction project management software solution. There is an end to how much you can optimize. I mean, yeah, you can pressure test different segments, you can go after different markets, but at some point you have reached the maximum potential of a campaign or potentially the reach of your total addressable market.
Right.
So like a buddy of mine works within ejection seats within the F-35 Strike Fighter. And there's
That's neat.
yeah. So like there's 5 people on the fucking planet that will actually buy this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally 5.
Yeah.
And so like we can do some sniper style like campaigns on LinkedIn, but realistically like that is not going to really show numbers over the next 5 to 10 years from the standpoint of an optimization
Right.
of conversions.
Yeah.
You reach that maximum potential. And I never thought that would be the case until I ran into it myself, where I was checking the numbers. I'm like, I'm doing everything right. Why don't I consistently see a drop in 5% like I have the last month over month over month over
You've
month?
reached the end.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it does happen. I'm sure you've experienced it too.
Yeah. Yeah. We've also had clients that have literally called us and be like, Google says we're done. You can't do
Yeah.
Google
good
called us and said, you reached the end of Google.
Yeah.
Good job. You win.
I like
Which
that.
is funny, right? So, and I'm like, yeah, I guess you can reach the end of like, it's like reaching the end of Netflix.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched it all.
Yeah.
And they've reached the end of all the optimization they can do. They can get no more conversions out of it. The number is the number. There's nowhere place to go other than saying, okay, now we take on, we sell in Turkey or we sell it. And you really have to like then say, all right, we've completely exhausted our addressable market. We need another market. We need another product. We need another something to sell. And then you go and attack that. And I think that's really nice that you can actually get to that. And that Google or Facebook or whoever will actually call you up and be like, you're done, bro.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's interesting.
You did good.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think, that's where I want to be one day. Everyone should go for that.
Yeah. Getting a call from Facebook.
Google 0.
Nailed it.
Google inbox 0. There's no more emails here.
like
But
that.
do you guys also have some tips to share when it comes to organic growth? I think
On social?
on social,
They
yeah.
just buy it all. There's
Just
no
buy it all.
organic growth. There's
With
no,
crypto.
That's not true. With crypto, yeah. I mean, my tips for organic growth are always been, you have to. I like scale. I think that most brands underestimate that producing more content gives you more opportunities to reach more people. We see that with TikTok, for example, right now. It's like, if our clients just decided to say, had the budget to do 2 more videos a week or 10 more videos a week, they would see 10 times growth usually until you reach a point where you don't. Right.
Yep.
And I think that's also like that reaching that Google 0 or Google whatever, you've maximized Google. It's the same with social. You reach a point where there's no more you could do. But most brands haven't got to that. Most brands are publishing 1 post a day on each channel, and it's really, you've got so much more you can do because people are constantly on the platform and you don't know what's going to go viral until you press publish. So I think that organic social growth really comes down to content growth. How much content can you put out and learn from? Because some stuff's not going to be successful. And then you learn, oh, okay, that didn't work. But most brands don't have enough data actually to make that informed decision.
Yeah.
They just,
Such a good point.
they do 1 post a day and they think that, okay, that didn't work. Why? And it's like, no, you got to publish 30 of those before we have an indication of whether or not that's actually working or not, because could have been it wasn't it was sunny that day, no one was on social, or it was like raining, or like, you just published at the wrong time, or or the headline was wrong, or the caption was wrong, or and you just don't have enough data to actually make the decision that it's good or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just did a presentation on this, but it was really granular and specific to LinkedIn. But I think it applies to all the social media platforms. And if you look at the revenue of LinkedIn over the last 15 years, it's literally doubling every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And what LinkedIn realized about 5 years ago was that if they reduced the reach of organic, people would be like, oh, it's not working. Let's fucking throw money on ads. And all of a sudden, everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
The same thing happened on Facebook.
Yeah.
So you see record returns on people that are spending money on ads because it's like, hey, you're not going to reach anybody
Pay to play.
organically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the old days of newspapers. Hey, you're selling a couch. Hey, put
gotta
an
pay
ad
for
out
it.
in the newspaper,
Yeah.
just like everybody else.
Yeah. And you're only going to reach 10% of your audience on a good day.
At best.
Right. So
I wish.
So you got to, sometimes, I totally know what you mean. It's like, holy shit. Especially on LinkedIn. Oh my God. Company pages.
Yeah.
Anybody watching, like company pages, I say it's really, really difficult. I would much rather you have a content plan that involves your employees to post. You're going to reach way more people.
Yep.
Right? Like we're talking about dramatic difference between your company page and the people you work with. So if you want to grow organically on LinkedIn, my advice is don't do your company page, but focus all your attention on your employees. And you're going to see growth of at least impressions of your brand and the lifting up of your people, and you're going to see much better results.
People like people.
People like people, but the platforms like people. Like platforms, they go to company pages, they're like, okay, this is a company. They can probably pay for their reach, so we're just not gonna. But regular old people aren't gonna pay for reach. There's not even an option to do so.
I agree.
So they're like, it's very smart of LinkedIn, and you just have to know that. Okay, I'm playing chess against LinkedIn, and you just have to sort of say, okay, what do I just want to lay down my queen and just pay, or do I want to actually play this game properly and with a strategy? And that strategy, in my mind, is using your people. Or your pawns.
That's interesting.
Whatever you want to call them.
I think it's more fucked up than that. LinkedIn gives you checkered pieces and they're playing chess. And so it's like, yo, I don't even have the same options. Like, this is unreal. So like,
They've got like magic moves.
yeah,
You've got like,
like I
you
can only go diagonal.
straight. Yeah, that's right. I like that a lot.
Well,
LinkedIn is playing chess and you're playing checkers.
Yeah.
By design.
Have you seen the rollout on LinkedIn of the company pages where it lets you create affiliate pages? So you have an office in Switzerland, an office in Denmark.
Yeah.
So the reach of those is basically just fragmenting your overall reach. So you're reaching 90% less people by fragmenting your overall reach as a company.
Yeah.
Yet they're shilling it to be like, yeah, go for it, because then you have to run ads on each individual affiliate page.
Yeah.
Just mind blown. And people are like, okay, cool. I guess we got to create 10 of them.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Keep it to one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad. But it's how you have to play the game. Like you have to know that this is what's happening and just know that you're beholden to the social media gods.
Yeah, what are you gonna go to fucking Friendster? Like, where else are you gonna go?
We're going to Vine, okay? Vine is
Yeah.
You go to an agency that can advise you properly.
Oh, I like it. Yes.
There you go.
Good job. I love it.
That's
Can we just put that in the podcast?
Exactly.
I think
That's a summary
can you
of it
put
all.
Can you put flames behind?
quote it, please.
Quote it. Yes, we'll put it up on the screens in here.
But to end it all, this conversation, I mean, great, you guys have so much on
We can keep going
on
for
your mind.
hours.
Exactly.
I feel
I
like,
mean,
yeah,
We're gonna have to
Just a couple
invite you
more
back
beers going.
weekly
Yeah.
for more the Taylor and Chris show.
I think it's that's
You're
a new
no longer
podcast.
in the
That's
show.
a new
Sorry,
podcast. You
sorry.
can outsource me.
No,
That's
the
fine.
Taylor, you, and Chris show.
But I just want to know from two great minds of this
Oh, no.
century.
Oh no.
What do you guys think is the future of marketing from your side and from your side? Because you're actually on different parts
Oh,
of marketing,
man, that's a
right?
good
Like you're
question.
in a different space than we usually are.
Yeah.
True.
Even though that's also just to comprehend how detailed and how big and massive marketing actually is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go? You go.
Yeah, you go. I'm like, I gotta think about this. This is a good question.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, Center.
Yeah, this is a very
all
like
good.
future of marketing.
Yeah. So like I did a
Where are we
presentation
headed?
back in, it was 2019. It was like pre-lockdown. It was a tech festival. And that thing still hasn't come back, but it is what it is. And it was the future is paid. And it was basically getting at what you were saying earlier, where you want to reach people, you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I ran through what I called a recipe to bake a cake, except instead of a real cake that you would eat, it was how to generate AI content in less than 5 minutes using open source material and spending less than $1 for a full length article. And I did it on stage and it came out okay. And it's like, cool. So I'm one person. And I did that back in 2019. Go on like AppSumo or just do a Google search for free or inexpensive or cheap AI writer tools. There are dozens popping up every day because GPT-3 is that Elon Musk, the AI writer kind of framework. Or
we
the
use
brain.
Jarvis.
Nice. Yeah. And there's so many great tools that continue to pop up with all these use cases. If you are constantly screaming at the top of your lungs, surrounded by a stadium of clones that are also screaming, at some point or another, there is no way to reach anyone.
Oh,
so
it's all the same.
Yeah. So either the outcome is you have influencers that are known for being authentic and are only creating stuff that you could not generate on AI, which is an interesting play, and I don't know how that'll pan out. So it's like badges almost, which go figure. Or you literally just have to pay. And that sucks, but like that's the world that we're heading towards, when everybody can spend under $1 and make Shakespearean level degree amazing content, whether it's written, deep fake, whether it's video or anything else. And that's a scary future, but also an interesting one to see how can you become kind of the orchestrator of those tools, not necessarily fighting against them.
That's interesting. I think that's really taking it to, because you definitely see markings of that. For example, like we're trying to rank for, like say we're doing on the SEO side. Let's say that. Let's take it from one specific niche channel sort of thing, SEO side. Mm-hmm. We're finding that we can't break through on things regarding Facebook ads or marketing because BuzzFeed is reporting on everything that Facebook is doing or TikTok is doing, or they now it's become ubiquitous to talk about social platforms. Even the Washington Post will be doing stuff about, Facebook advertising. And it's like, holy shit, we're not just competing with other agencies. We're competing with media houses and publishing houses that have thousands of pieces of content on a particular topic, and Google is just going to rank them higher because they've got the breadth and the depth that we can never get to because we can't publish enough articles.
You don't have enough authority to get there either.
No, exactly right. So it's a really tough game to be in, and it's sort of like on the marketing side, I can also see that for, when we look at every brand is now competing with every indie brand that's out there. I mean, if you're a beer, like let's just take that for example, there's so many little brew houses that are producing such good stuff. And when we look at the marketplace, we look at people are going towards these things than they are going towards a Budweiser or a Heineken. So I think the future of marketing is you have to not be a big brand anymore. I think
maybe it's more the authentic. You have to be authentic or have some kind of.
I don't think it's about
story.
authentic. I think it's literally like diversification.
People just going anti-brand.
Or it's like it is. I think you should, as a brand, start to devolve your brand. I think, or you should start to try to cannibalize your brand with other brands, because that's what's pushing through the market. This is pushing through the market, not. And we see that on the product development side as well. It's like the more product development you have, the more products you put out, people take notice. So, for example, we deal with a lot of beauty brands, and the product innovation curve on that has gone through the roof. We're talking about not just releasing 5 or 6 new products a year. We're talking about 5 or 6 new products a month, right? And that sort of level of product innovation is what people want. They want to try the latest thing. They want to try this. They want to experience a brand that's, constantly giving them something new. We look at that on the energy drink side. Like, how many Monster energy drinks can you release a year? There's like 30 new flavors a month. It's like, what? It's like
exclusive flavors.
Like peach tea explosion. It's like, and I think that's where either you start to really on the marketing side just talk about new product development and really like push it that way, or you start to release a lot of indie brands that can be maybe run by an influencer or something like that, and that's how you get through in the marketplace. That's where I would take it.
All right,
cool perspective.
Yeah, thank you guys for both your perspectives. And there you have it, a great talk with Taylor and Chris about in-housing, out-housing, and how you build
We talked
your
like
content.
little.
I know.
But it
One
just
second
dives
about
into a
in-housing.
lot of
It
stuff.
it was not about
How you
in-housing at
optimize
all.
your content.
We don't know what this
marketing.
episode is. Just watch it. It's just good. There's good stuff in this episode somewhere in there. Just gotta
There's a
comb
lot of
through it.
stuff. There's both in-house
Heard
and
her saying
out-housing.
it's like that's what we talked about. Like,
I talked about in-house and out-house for like
Each
30
of the
seconds.
questions I ask can be a separate kind of episode topic.
I'm gonna do 30 episodes about
Yeah.
scaling the content.
But anyways, you guys, thank you for tuning in, and please leave your feedback, your subscription, your thoughts, your likes, your dislikes with us, and then get a chance to win a $100 gift card to Chris's favorite website in the whole wide world, Amazon.
hey.
That little niche
Yes.
website, Amazon.
So thank you guys so much
Up
for
and comer.
listening, and
Thanks for
tune in
having me.
for the next one.
Thanks, Taylor. It was really great to have you. See you guys. Bye.
This has been the Social Media Sucks Podcast.